Today, we're diving deep into a really compelling topic. It's about a recent federal court decision on immigration arrests right here in Los Angeles. Our sources are some powerful clips from a CNN piece that, really unpacks this ruling and what it means more broadly. Let's get into it.
Right. And our mission today really is to break down what the judge found. We want to understand the impact, the real on-the-ground effects of the administration's policies, and also look at public opinion, which is, well, it's shifting. We want to connect those dots for you so you get the full picture, the nuances.
Okay, so let's start with the immediate news. A federal judge has found that the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, right?
DHS.
They've been making immigration arrests in LA without probable cause. That's the legal standard. You need strong reasons, not just suspicion. And the judge ordered them to stop detaining people just based on race or language or their job.
Yeah.
This is huge for California, obviously. It's been kind of ground zero for these raids.
It really is huge. And the key thing here, I think, is why it's so significant. Remember, the previous administration had basically said those things were grounds. Working at a Home Depot, speaking Spanish, looking quote unquote undocumented. They explicitly said that was okay.
Right.
So the judge really took the government to task here, said their lawyers claimed, none of this is actually happening despite a mountain of evidence. She was demanding more due process, basically fair treatment, a chance to be heard before you detain someone.
Exactly. And the lawsuit itself, the core complaint was that people were being denied lawyers, denied a chance to prove they shouldn't be held. So this ruling really hammers home that point. Due process is fundamental for everyone. Doesn't matter your status.
Which brings us to, what this looks like in the real world. Holman on Fox News, one of the sources mentioned, said the aim was going after people who look like criminals.
That quote, that could be anyone, right? Depending on the day. If I'm not wearing a jacket, it's so subjective.
Precisely. And that's the problem with subjective criteria. It just opens the door to, potential abuse and unfairness. It really undermines the legal process.
Yeah, it really does. And thinking about those California raids specifically, the sources mentioned two different ones, and they apparently got quite violent. The United Farm Workers, the UFW, reported that tragically one person was killed. A farm worker.
Chased through fields, yeah. And several others were critically injured. The UFW statement, it was quite detailed. They said workers, including U.S. citizens, got hurt in these chaotic raids in Ventura County. And some people, again, including citizens, were held for like 8 hours or more.
8 hours, wow.
Yeah, and U.S. citizens apparently were only let go after being forced to delete photos and videos from their phones of the raid itself.
That seems like a serious overstep.
It raises huge questions. And NBC reported a supervisor was assaulted, handcuffed, just for asking ICE agents for a warrant.
Just for asking for the proper paperwork. And, the source mentioned one raid was on a marijuana farm. We should probably clarify.
Yeah, good point.
Marijuana is legal in California. So framing it like that, it shouldn't automatically sound nefarious,
Absolutely. Context matters there. And on the point about children working on these farms.
Yeah.
It's actually legal.
Legal.
In agriculture, yeah. There's an industry exception. Sometimes kids as young as 12 can work legally. Now, if they were undocumented, that just highlights the whole economic picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Agriculture, meat packing.
Yeah.
These industries have benefited enormously. But the people facing consequences, it's the workers in the fields, the employers, the ones hiring potentially undocumented immigrants, often aren't prosecuted. It's a huge imbalance.
Meanwhile, the administration's stated goal, we know, is arresting and deporting undocumented immigrants. It was a major campaign promise, right, to end this crisis, take care of this. And look, some people argue that this kind of aggressive enforcement is needed. That view is out there.
It is. But CNN's reporting, which is part of our source material here, found something pretty stark. More than half, over 50% of the people ICE detained has no criminal record. Zero.
Criminal record.
None. So you have the president saying, we need these people for agriculture, maybe, but the enforcement is sweeping up lots of folks with clean records.
Yeah.
It's a disconnect.
And this connects to the broader implications, the precedent it sets, which is, I think, where it gets really concerning for a lot of people. The sources had anecdotes. American citizens, maybe Hispanic, maybe they speak Spanish, stopped, questioned about their citizenship.
Yeah.
Even a U.S.-born citizen detained by ICE. That really hits home, doesn't it? It touches on basic rights.
It really does. And statistically, it's worth remembering, undocumented immigrants are actually less likely to commit crimes than native-born citizens. Our own law enforcement data shows that. But beyond that, this climate creates other risks. CNN mentioned people impersonating ICE agents to try and kidnap people. At least 3 incidents cited. And then the extreme cases.
Yeah.
People taken from hospital beds, mothers caring for kids with cancer, just taken. It does raise that difficult question some sources pose. Where's the line? You know, the invisible line before things feel like they're tipping into something else, like fascism, as one source put it. Heavy stuff.
It is heavy. So, okay, we've got the ruling, the reality on the ground, these concerning incidents.
Yeah.
What about the public? How are Americans feeling about all this? There was a pretty blockbuster poll mentioned from Gallup. They've been tracking this stuff for ages.
Yeah, and the results are frankly surprising. Despite the rhetoric, despite the enforcement push, Gallup found that support for immigration, and especially a pathway to citizenship, hasn't gone down. It's gone up.
Up, really?
Yep. 78% of Americans now support a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants currently here. That's up from 70% just last year, a 7-point jump. And get this, more Americans want more immigration, not less. And fewer Border Patrol agents, not more. It's counterintuitive to the political narrative sometimes.
That is fascinating. But public opinion isn't monolithic, right? The sources mentioned focus groups too. And they found, okay, nearly everyone agrees, Dems, independents, everyone deport immigrants who commit serious crimes, sure, as long as there's due process.
Right. That sees consent.
But where people really push back, what they recoil from, is deporting, Jose down the street, who's been here 20 years, working, paying taxes, maybe part of the community, or the person picking the food you eat. There's a real distinction people make between someone seen as a criminal threat versus, an essential worker or just a neighbor.
Exactly. So you see this clash playing out. You've got an administration focused on speed, on deportations. You've got federal judges hitting the brakes, demanding due process. And all this against a backdrop of public opinion that's actually leaning more towards pathways to citizenship, not less. It's a really complex dynamic.
So wrapping this up, what does it all mean for you listening? We've covered a lot, the legal side, the human impact, the public mood.
Well, the judge's order is a strong reminder about probable cause, about due process being essential, even in immigration enforcement. And those stories from California, they really show the human cost, right? For everyone involved, documented or not. But maybe the most surprising thread here is that data, that despite everything, American attitudes seem to be shifting towards more compassion, more support for a path to citizenship.
Yeah. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on, maybe. If public opinion keeps moving this way towards supporting Jose down the street, what kind of policies would actually reflect that? And how do you square that public will with the absolute need for due process that the courts are demanding?